Welcome back. Well, French President Emmanuel Macron is hoping to negotiate with protesters after violent demonstrations in Paris. Mr. Macron is sending his Prime Minister, Edouard Philippe, to meet representatives of the so-called Yellow Vests. Well, over the past 3 weeks, tens of thousands of people have taken to the streets in France to protest the rise in fuel prices. Melissa Bell is in Paris and joins us now live. And Melissa, of course, we spoke over the weekend as we saw the riot police come in with tear gas and water cannons to try and quell those protesters. And the riot police are back out on the streets today.
That's right. This morning a protest by ambulance workers. It is distinct from the Yellow Vest protest, the culmination of which, you're right, Linda, we watched together on Saturday night with those extraordinary scenes of anger, far greater than anything we'd seen on the two preceding Saturdays. So distinct, and yet what is common between those protests, the one this morning at the Place de la Concorde, just in front of the French Parliament, and the violence that we saw on Saturday, the third Saturday in a row of that protest by the Yellow Vests against the rise in the fuel duty. But in the end, so much more than that. The common thread, really, is that people aren't happy about Emmanuel Macron's liberalising policies. And at the heart of the Yellow Vest movement, something perhaps much more profound than that, a real class struggle, actually, almost, Linda, with a lot of people out there to protest the fact that they simply are not able to make ends meet. And looking at the damage around Paris today and the Paris town hall, the Paris mayor estimates it at something between 3 to 4 million euros worth of damage that was caused just on Saturday. What you see now are lots of graffiti really aimed at the French president in particular, but his liberalising policies more broadly. A lot of anger. The bourgeois, they say, should be very afraid. And that really was the tenor of what happened. What we saw on Saturday was that violence that had been concentrated here on the Champs-Élysées the Saturday before expand beyond that, because of course this part of Paris, the part that is around the presidential palace, had been so carefully secured that the anger of the Yellow Vests on Saturday really expressed itself much more widely. But again, Linda, in those neighborhoods of Paris that are extremely well off, and it was focused on what? It was focused on banks, it was focused on cars, all the symbols of capitalism really that you'd expect. It is that anger that Edouard Philippe, the French Prime Minister, will attempt to address when he meets with the Yellow Vests on Tuesday, tomorrow. Today he's spending the day meeting with opposition parties, many of whom have expressed their solidarity with those Yellow Vests. The question is, ahead of next Saturday's planned protest, what can the French government do to pacify things? What can they do to calm things down now that this protest has gone so far beyond its initial spark, which was a rise in the fuel duty, Linda?
And that is the key question, really. Is the government willing to compromise? Because these protests began at anger over Mr. Macron's fuel tax. Is there any indication that they're going to have a compromise here?
That's right, Linda, and so far the French government has been absolutely clear on this. They will not back down on a hike in the fuel duty that they believe is necessary for environmental, for ecological reasons. They might be willing perhaps to give a sort of olive branch on other respects. We've heard from the government today that they believe that perhaps drops in taxation should happen more quickly in order for the poorest in society to feel the benefits. But clearly it's very difficult to see what room for manoeuvre the executive has. I mean, in a sense, the fact that the anger has grown so consistently and so loudly over the course of the last 3 weeks, culminating those extraordinary images of Saturday, very difficult to see what they could possibly offer to prevent next Saturday descending into the same kind of chaos.
Yeah, not long to sort it all out, really, until Saturday. Melissa Bell, good to have you with us from Paris. Thanks so much.